Well, hello and welcome to my talk. Some of you know who I am because I've probably bugged you to come and do a talk. Not many of you did, so I thought, okay, now is the time for me to stand here and do it, and hopefully that will encourage more of you to do it. 2020 has been quite a year for me, and we're only in February. Scary things have happened, and I can only tell you that doing a talk at React Meetup is nowhere near as scary as looking for a job in tech. So there you go. So who am I? Michael has done a bit of an introduction. So for those of you who don't know who I am Marta, hi, and I am a software engineer. I am an immigrant from Poland, and because I'm a software engineer, I'm deemed a skilled and useful immigrant. Which is, Brexit sucks. I didn't study computer science, I studied humanities, and I worked in the arts before doing a big change, which was going to Coquelin around 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago. And I've been working in the Scottish startups ever since. So Codebase is my natural environment, you can say. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about SEO and Gatsby, which is a bit of an intersection between my ex-life as an English Lit student and a software engineer. So here we go. So first of all, SEO, what is it even? It's search engine optimization, and the definition that I found online is such. The practice of increasing the quantity and quality of traffic to your website through organic search engine results. Now, these are words. These are just words. What does that even mean? I don't know. This is confusing. I'm as confused as this cat. But yeah, maybe let's approach it from like, you know, from a different perspective and ask, what is the problem that we're trying to solve with SEO? Okay, this may not be my audience for this, but who knows more or less the plot to The Great Gatsby? Yay, okay. So for those of you who know, and for those of you who don't know, let's just say that it goes like this. So we have Gatsby, and he's poor, and he loves Daisy. Now, in order to get Daisy, he decided to get rich. And he got there through nefarious ways. Let's not talk about it. He wants Daisy, and he doesn't know what to do. He wants to kind of, you know, catch her attention. He doesn't want to rock up at her door and say, "Hi, Daisy, I'm actually rich now, so we can be together." No. So instead, he moves into her neighborhood and throws a lot of parties that cost a lot of money. It's the Roaring Twenties, so there you go. But that's not going to work with Daisy because she's posh, and she's just not going to go to his parties. So what does Gatsby have to do? Well, Gatsby needs to infiltrate the society that Daisy is a part of. And for that, he enlists the help of the guy on the right-hand side, I believe. His name is Nick Carraway. So he needs to make sure that he presents himself as a legit person to Nick. So Nick introduces him to Daisy, because Daisy is Nick's cousin. And in fact, this is what happens. Nick facilitates that encounter. So he kind of organically brings Daisy to meet Gatsby. And you can tell that this is SEO. And that analogy works for us, and let me just tell you why. So let's say that we have a website, and this is our Gatsby, and we want to get to users, and we want our users to come to us and use our services, but we need Google and Google's approval and Google's kind of stamp of approval and thinking that we're legit in order for Google to bring those users to us. And that's basically what SEO is about. So there you go. Definitions. That's my definition. And so I thought, when I first started working on the SEO project, I didn't know anything about it. I knew it was search engine optimization, but that's pretty much it. So I thought I'll give you a little bit of a background of what actually needs to happen for SEO to happen. And yeah, because Google is not actually that smart. Google is actually super stupid, and it needs to learn, just like all of us. And there is like a kind of like a prescribed way for Google to learn about new pages, about new websites. And the first step is called crawling. Now, crawling is the process of a Google bot, that cute little robot, of finding new pages and kind of analyzing them. So when new pages are kind of out there, Google doesn't know about them. So periodically, it will crawl new pages and find out about them as it goes. So this is really the first step. Sorry. This is really the first step. The next step is called indexing. And indexing means that the page that the Google bot found is eligible to show up in Google's search result. And I put a thing on Google Search Console here, which is a web service run by Google that is kind of your one-stop shop for tracking how many of your pages have been indexed, whether there are any problems with them, and so on and so forth. So that's where you would go to check what's going on with your newly released page. It is a bit confusing, so it takes a bit of time to kind of learn everything, but it's definitely doable. And they do have really good guides. So I would look at the guides too. And then, yeah, so after a page is discovered, Google tries to kind of understand what the page is about, and that process is indexing. So that's kind of like, yeah, like Nick learning about Gatsby and kind of being like, yeah, okay, he's fine, he can be with Daisy. So, and then finally, we've got ranking, which has to do with serving your search results to you. And this is really, if you think about, Googling something, you want your page to appear high up in the search results. I mean, whoever goes kind of past the 4th page in search results? I don't. So sometimes, if I'm really looking for something and I can't find it, but chances are that you would like your page to appear highly in the search results, because people don't have the time. They don't have all the time in the world. And what is important for ranking? Well, it's many things, but things like your usability, the UX, the relevance of your content to your users, and whether your page is fast or not. Accessibility is a big deal in that as well. So these are all really important things to think about when it comes to page ranking. Now, onto the technical bit. So I'm not just kind of randomly picking on, Gatsby, but it's the namesake of it is the technology that I want to chat about today. And Gatsby is a JavaScript framework to build what they now call in their docs progressive web applications, which are basically web apps. And what's relevant about Gatsby and React Meetup is that it ships with React, and it also uses GraphQL as a query language to power those pages. So it's kind of new, modern, and shiny. A lot of people are raving about it. Yeah, it's super new, kind of new money, like Gatsby. I mean, if someone knows why Gatsby is called Gatsby, please tell me, because I was trying to find the answer to that, and I still don't know. So the truth is, Gatsby provides a lot of things that make the implementation of technical SEO concepts really simple. And it ships with a lot of built-in things already. So I'm just going to walk you through a few of them, but before I'll just kind of quickly show you how to use Gatsby. So for those of us who have encountered React and Create React app, starting a Gatsby project is super fast. So you just install your CLI, and then you just make a new project, and you're kind of good to go. You've got all your scaffolding up there for you. And the two more commands that are kind of interesting, and well, the first one is Gatsby develop, so that's just to start your server, and then there's the production build that I will talk about a bit later. And that's just what the project looks like when it first builds. As you can see, you've got your source folder, just like in any React project, and then quite a few config files. I don't know how you feel about config files. I get really nervous about config files. If I'm doing a lot of config, that means I'm probably not having a good day. But but the one that we'll be focusing on, the one that we'll be doing the work on, is gatsbyconfig.js. So that's the file that we're interested in. So just quickly, for those of you who haven't worked with Gatsby, yeah, it's just like a quick thing where in order for the page to have a page, you need data that is provided by GraphQL, and you write your template in React, then you do the build step, and then you have your page. Now, when it comes to the build step, it's good because it produces really fast pages. And the reason for that is the data, all the data that GraphQL provides is prefetched. So when you're requesting your page through the browser, there is no API request. There is no fetching of data and kind of rendering. Because of that build step, all the files are already built, and they are static files. So all you're doing from your browser, you're just requesting an already built file from a directory. So for that reason, it's super fast and very performant. So good for SEO pages. So that's one thing. The next thing is Gatsby plugins. So these are just pieces of code that work really, they're really reminiscent of NPM packages that you can use to support your SEO efforts. And I just put in here a few ones that may be relevant, like the one for the sitemap, for robots.txt file, more sitemap, theme SEO, which I haven't actually used myself, but it looks like a good idea. And then there's also an accessibility plugin. So that accessibility plugin actually highlights your errors, but Gatsby does ship with the ESLint plugin that Suzanne mentioned earlier on. So we're good there. And yeah, this is what the Gatsby config scary file looks like when it first ships. But the reason why I'm showing you this here is when you install a plugin, you need to edit this file. But don't worry, the docs are really good, so they tell you what you need to do. So it's not that scary. So now to the sitemap. So I mentioned earlier that first step of Google kind of doing its thing with your website is crawling. And crawling happens through the sitemap. So a sitemap really is just a very uninteresting, unsexy XML file that lists all the links within your web page. And that really helps crawling, and that plugin that Gatsby has makes that sitemap for you. It makes it really easy, so you're kind of good to go. You don't even have to think about it. So that's one thing. The next thing is React Helmet, which Gatsby also ships with. And React Helmet is well, normally it's an NPM package. In that case, it's a plugin. But it's a reusable React component that manages the head of the document and changes to it. Again, Suzanne mentioned it earlier on. So that means that you can work easily with things like title tags, meta description tags, canonical URL tags, and kind of customize them for all the pages types. in your particular project. So just to be kind of pretty clear in what I mean and what the title tag is. The title tag is when you've got your search results. That's really like the first thing that you see as a user when deciding whether or not you're going to visit that web page. So these are really important, and we should aim to make them meaningful. And the second one, which kind of goes hand in hand with the title tag, is the meta description tag, which is the wee description that you see underneath. So these two can be easily these two and many more actually that you can have within the head can be managed through React Helmet. And how to implement it? So I made a component, a layout component with the helmet, and I've got some technology. I'm not sure if I can use it, but you've got a title, you've got the meta description, and you just put it in, and you can just render it on any of your pages. So that's super useful. You can customize it through props. You're basically just writing React. So that's super useful. And then the final thing I want to talk about. Oh yeah, I forgot what I put there. Is a robots.txt plugin. Now the robots.txt file is our kind of special way to communicate with the Google bot. So, we're humans, and it's a bot. So it communicates in files. So in there, we write instructions for the bot of what bits of our page we are not interested in when it comes to crawling or indexing. So, for example, if you have a sub page with sausage dog memes that are just yours, and you don't want your users to find them for some reason, or something which is not safe for work, God knows what that could be, you would put that in your txt file. And again, that's done really kind of quickly through the plugin. So yeah, there's tons of plugins to use. I've only spoken about a few, but the good thing about Gatsby is that it's open source. So if you can't find something, a plugin for something, go ahead and write it. It's yours to be done. So that's a nice thing. So yeah, Gatsby says you're welcome. Now, just quickly about pros of using Gatsby for SEO projects. Now, it's really good when you're dealing with a large volume of pages that don't need to change much. So if that's your landing pages or marketing pages, your personal pages. So if it's the kind of content that you may update from time to time, but it doesn't need to change very often. In that case, it's I guess a good solution. So that's one pro. Another one, it's like an easy solution for the sitemap, which helps crawling, for metadata, which helps indexing, and it's fast, so it helps ranking. And also, SEO is a long game, and especially when you have a large number of pages. So since Gatsby provides a lot of this functionality, either out of box or straight out of box, or with a tiny bit of configuration, you're saving yourself a lot of time later on. So you can just embed it in your project straight away with very little effort. And finally, I found that the developer experience with Gatsby is pretty great, especially when you're coming from React ecosystem. It kind of mimics all the other techniques. And the docs are pretty good, and it's open source, and and it's still being developed, and people are pretty stoked about it. So there'll be probably still good things coming out of it for a long, long time. And then the cons. So if your page does need to change a lot, Gatsby is probably not your man, because you need to run this build step every time something changes. And so for example, in the project that I worked on, we run the build and deploy every 24 hours because our pages were pretty static. So that was absolutely fine. but if that's not the case in your project, then it's probably not so great. And then another thing is that it could be an overkill if you're just making one page. Then you may not need all this setup. You may be good just writing, plain old HTML, and it's absolutely fine. I mentioned a lot of plugins, and it's all really great. But also, if you want to do something a bit more custom, that may be a bit hard. So you may need to dig deeper. So plugins are great for your kind of basic implementation, but if you want to play about it a little bit more, it may be a bit frustrating. And finally, you have to remember that Gatsby is great, but it's not a one-stop shop to make your pages successful. So you, as a developer, you still need to make sure that your HTML is actually semantic. Now you know how to do it from Suzanne's talk. That your information architecture makes sense, and your content is accessible and relevant to your users. So go get those users. So what did we learn today? So I gave you a bit of an intro to SEO, some technical SEO concepts, and provided you with a Gatsby implementation for them. Here are some resources that I found useful. So basically, moz.com is a great one for people just starting with SEO. It's got really good basic guides. Then Google itself is pretty great as well. It's you get all the info from the horse's mouth. So I really recommend it. And then Gatsby docs, pretty awesome. So check them out. Okay, that's me for today. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, you can grab me later. And yeah, if you want to chat about talking at the React meetup, also please come speak to me. Thank you.